Hello everybody, welcome again to Health Wealth. We have another very special, exciting episode, and as you can see, we are still in the professional looking setting the last episode was in. We're making the most of it. We've got another special guest who's also our first repeat guest, which I will let Barry introduce, because again, Barry is well connected to this guest. So Barry, firstly, how are you? And then you can introduce our guest.
I'm great, Ryan. Thanks again for having me. Delighted to be here co-hosting yet again another live in-person episode of Health Wealth, and know this guest very well, my older brother Akis, who we've had on previously and had a great discussion about the inner workings of the human body, nutrition, his area of expertise very much, and also delved into his Hypno Fasting method, which we'll hear a little bit more about. But Akis, delighted to have you on. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
I'm fantastic, and it's great to get through the door again, guys. So I know it can be controversial at times, but not too controversial. It seems you've had me back, and it's appreciated.
We like a bit of directness in here.
Exactly.
So
Yeah. No, it was a pleasure. We fully enjoyed it. So for people, anyone who hasn't seen the previous episode, let's give us a little background on what it is you do, and then we'll move on to what we're going to discuss today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we'll start with Hypno Fasting method. So I'm the creator of essentially an online coaching course, a program called Hypno Fasting Method. So it's combining two skills that I have. One skill is in neuro-linguistic programming and hypnosis, the ability to take people very far, very quickly from a coaching perspective, but also tapping into my knowledge on nutrition, human optimization. I've been able to fuse the two together. So I think a lot of coaches out there can be amazing at coaching or have one specific skill. I think that I fuse both of them together in a really powerful way. So the hypnosis part we can talk a bit about. It's essentially it's not that woo woo really. A lot of marketeers use it to get you to buy their stuff.
Yeah.
The fasting piece is a little bit more than just abstaining from consuming calories for any given amount of time, and depending on your own individual needs, we look at different strategies and protocols that can help you integrate a fast into your lifestyle to improve your health.
That's awesome. So we've got you've come prepared this time. You've got some stuff to speak on. We're going to talk about some topics, and you've even got images and for people to see and talk about. So I think first you're going to talk us through kind of a pyramid of some values that relate to the. Do they relate to the Hypno Fasting? Is it?
They do, yeah. It's also structured in such a way that people can understand. Quite simply, because any presentation done with bullet points is a surefire way to put people to sleep. So
yeah, true.
So no bullet points here.
True.
Yeah,
no. Look at. I mean, just professionalism here. Look at this. It's up on the screen.
Yeah. Well, I have to say it's not my own. It was created by a chap called Robert Dilts, which is one of the sort of OGs of neuro-linguistic programming, and it's essentially looking at a model of change that can take people very far, very quickly. So to explain this in sort of layman's terms, what you're looking at here is starting from the bottom, the most superficial layer, if you like, and the top, the deepest layer. So the lower you go, the more sort of conscious mind involvement there is here, the more superficial, and the higher you go, the deeper you go into the unconscious resources, which is where I like to sort of play and operate. So we look at your traditional model of coaching. It's all about, where do you go and what do you do? So a personal trainer will operate in putting people into the gym. Yeah, so that's the environmental piece, the where's it going to take place, and the doing part, if you like, the what. So the push-ups, the chin-ups, the lifts, and all the exercises, and over time, and very incongruently with that person's identity and their beliefs and values, they'll slowly start to acquire the skills and capabilities that will enable them to succeed in the endeavour that they've set out to do. But more often than not, it requires an unbelievable amount of willpower, and willpower is a finite resource.
Yeah.
So how can we then tackle this? And the best way to tackle this is to start at the top of the pyramid and change and realign things at identity level. Ideally, everything starts with they say. the why. Everything starts with the why. And above that, you've got the who. And the top bit could be called spirituality. It could be called your mission. This sort of transcends you. This is your purpose, but it's driven ultimately by your sense of self. So I like to work with people at the identity and the beliefs and values level, because if you get a shift there and you can align everything correct at that point by that person's own definitions and standards, then the behaviour piece just becomes automatic and effortless and easy. And actually, you don't really need to tell them what to do, because if they are that person in their own mind, they'll go and find out what to do all by themselves. You don't need to give them a diet sheet. You don't need to give them an exercise program per se. These things can all help. But it's amazing what can be accomplished just by really challenging somebody's sense of self, who they see themselves as, and then aligning where they hang out and what they do, so that it's congruent with that sense of self and what they hold to be true and what they value.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I think it's very logical when you put it like that, and it shows that, you know, the reason why a lot of people, I think, don't keep up their health and fitness when they get a personal trainer, say, for 12 weeks and do it, they don't. It's because, like you say, they're only reaching those bottom layers, and the top layers are the same, aren't they, as what they were before. So exactly. So once the personal trainer goes, they just go back to default, don't they? You've got to get into them deeper layers.
And even when the personal trainer's there, if they feel like an unhealthy person inside, as though their beliefs and values aren't aligned to why that they're doing what they've been told to do, then the whole thing falls apart. And willpower is a finite resource. So that's really the difference between the outside-in way of coaching, which can work if you develop enough skill and capability by doing that very thing often enough. It will eventually start to change your beliefs and values, and then it will nudge the layer above it. But if you change identity and beliefs and values, it perfuses all the way through all the other layers, instantly, automatically, unconsciously, effortlessly. So I think when people say to me, well, how do you do that? You know, how do you fast for 22 hours every day? Just say to them, it's not what I do, it's who I am.
Yeah.
That's the feeling.
That lines up with what we say about it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle, you know. Obviously it applies to things other than food, but, you know, like you say, that's it becomes your identity. That's what you need.
And you go into autopilot after that.
You do.
When the behaviour becomes autopilot, it's no longer effort, it's just there's no thinking behind it, there's no effort. It's this is what I should be doing because this is who I believe that I am. And it just happens automatically, doesn't it? You know?
It is, and you used an interesting word there. You said should be doing. You know, a lot of people will do things because they should do it, because they must do it, because they have to do it. Yeah, should, must, and have are all modal operators of necessity. Yeah, and your nervous system associates that with pain. So these are your away from pain strategies, and they can be quite powerful. But how would it be if you also had away from pain strategies and towards pleasure strategies that took you to the same destination? So if you could align why you like doing things, why you love doing things, or why you could do things, and it's aligned in the same way as your away from pain strategies, your nervous system associates that with pleasure. So you have to think about your timeline and the direction you're heading, and have an alternate vision of yourself that you're working towards as your towards pleasure strategy. So you might want to take up a health intervention in order to stay at the doctor's office or get off medication or get out of pain ultimately. But what are you going to do with all that lifespan and health span that you create? You have to know what you're going to do with your life, because it completely changes your future timeline. And this is something else I'll use, and I'm getting kind of very deep into, I suppose, hypnosis and neuro-linguistic programming here. But I weave all of these techniques into my program. So the behaviour part, and even the environment, you know, if you walk into a supermarket, I'm going to make all the middle aisles completely invisible to you. They don't exist. There's no decisions to be made. The
cereal aisle, the jam aisle, all of that.
You're going to shop around the periphery automatically and effortlessly. So that's the where part of the environment. You're going to do the behaviours, and they're all going to align perfectly to your sense of self and what you hold to be true.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Like you say, with the aligning it with pleasure, I enjoy the way I eat, and a lot of people say, how can you keep that up? Is it not boring? Is it not hard? Is it no? Because I enjoy it. Because I think my goals, my identity is aligned, in the right way, and I find it enjoyable to do it. Whereas other people who are looking at it from the more of the pain viewpoint, and they're like, well, I have to do this and I have to do that. And they struggle with it. And, in my mind, it's different. I enjoy it and I enjoy the results I get from it.
Yeah.
So it's having the right view.
Yeah. You've rewired your reward mechanism essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the key to success. So nice little summary really, just to say that, the difference between the outside in way of coaching is that people work from the bottom up compared to the inside out. So you can spend a little bit of time working on someone's identity and beliefs and values, and then the behaviours you give them will align effortlessly.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between having to have, conscious mind input and just having your unconscious essentially sort of run your day and dictate, what you do. If I'm going to go into Starbucks, again, everything on the way to me ordering a black coffee is invisible to me. I don't have to make those decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the same if I'm working out in the morning doing calisthenics bodyweight workouts, most of the time I don't feel like doing it, but I do it because that's what I believe. That's my belief system. Someone that should be doing that. So that the actual behaviour and carrying out the actions is very little effort. Yeah, it's almost like I don't have a choice. Yeah, there's no. Well, I'm just going to skip it, because the feeling of skipping it. I think I touched on that as well in one of my first episodes. The feeling of skipping, it's just it will just bring that sense of shame, and it wouldn't sit well. It wouldn't sit well with you, because skipping it doesn't align with my implemented belief system now. So that makes the behaviour a lot easier. And carry it out.
That's the difference between congruency and incongruency.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, if you can change their identity and their mindset first, the behaviours become easy. If you're trying to force the change behaviours without it, it's going to be a battle, isn't it?
It is.
Which it is. We find that a lot. I find that a lot speaking to people, and it's to change behaviours is hard.
And this is why some of the initial stages of coaching can be quite difficult, because you do need to literally tear down some beliefs and values that person has no idea how they ever formed them in their own mind. Who told them these things, and what evidence were those beliefs and values created? So it can
they listening to?
It can be quite challenging, but ultimately, if you can define someone's mission and their sense of self, then you can tap into the beliefs and values quite quickly and change them.
That's it, isn't it? Having like that goal, that thing that they want to achieve, and then this is what you want to achieve. You're going to be the type of person to do that, and then these are the behaviours to get you there, and it kind of follows on from there. That's good. That's brilliant. Yeah. It's helpful to see it like that, and to kind of help people understand. Even for me, coaching people, seeing something like this helps me as well, because I'm much better off concentrating my energy on the identity and the beliefs, rather than just trying to make them do something they don't want to do. So it's very.
We've got a couple of other very interesting images as well that you would like to.
I think should we just? I think we'll just take them as they come. I think and discuss them. We'll see what's next. It's a lucky dip.
We've got this one, which I saw the other day.
So this was quite controversial. I suppose it comes back a little bit to my past, if you like. So I've worked 20 years in the pharmaceutical industry, essentially facilitating access to high cost drugs for patients. And we can see this line on the left becoming increasingly long in just about every developed country in the world, and unfortunately the people at the other side of that window are less capable of solving the ever-increasing problems you're seeing in that ever-increasing queue. So we've got this other chap here on the right hand side that's offering something called lifestyle change. So ultimately, if you engage in the stuff on the right, you'll never really find yourself in the queue for in the left hand side, let alone find yourself they're not actually going to serve you at any point, let's say in the next 18 months. So this is the way, I suppose, the Western sort of setup healthcare has been constructed, in that we wait for things to go quite badly wrong before we're able to help these people. And ultimately, the help we're giving them is really just aligned to the Western philosophy of medicine, which is, by the way, absolutely incredible if you get hit by a bus.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. If I get hit by a bus, I want a doctor, and I want Western medicine as quickly as possible. That is what I want.
As well as infection control, which is extremely important.
There's
the
unbelievable doctors
control.
out there, unbelievable medical interventions and medical technologies. But as far as chronic disease management is concerned, if we're waiting for the Western health system to fix that for us, it's completely folly. And I just have to be upfront about it and say that you need to completely opt out of that system, because it is a failed system and everybody knows it. I think patients innately know on one side, and even to call them patients, these are people, with really debilitating conditions that are in a lot of ways of their own doing, but it's not their fault. They've just bought into this false paradigm, and it's all based upon their lifestyle and their diet. And I think on the other side, healthcare professionals innately know it as well, but they're obviously stuck in a system where they've got they're very kind of impotent to do anything out with the system that they're trained in and ultimately paid to participate in as well.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I suppose in the defense of doctors, you can say they're doing the job that they're paid to do and told to do. They're trained to do the things that they're doing. They're not trained about diet and nutrition. They're not taught any of that. So in their defense, while I think they should be doing a lot more, in their defense, they are just doing the job that they've been paid to. I mean, I love the meme. I actually shared this one recently from the podcast page, I think, on social media. But it's incredibly sad that it's such a great representation of definitely the Western world and most of it. And if that queue moved to the other side for lifestyle change, that queue would go down and never come back. Whereas pills and surgery, they're going to be on loop. They're more customers than patients.
Yeah, absolutely. And doctors are very skilled, capable, well-meaning, talented individuals, but they're just not well deployed at all, are they?
Yeah. I agree. It's like the education. They're not taught it. So I suppose we can't fully put the blame on them, because they're doing what they're taught, and it's the system it's the system that's wrong, that they should be taught diet and lifestyle. But obviously that doesn't make big money for pharmaceutical companies, does it? So,
most definitely. So I think my Hypno Fasting method is one way that you can completely not opt out completely, because things can still go wrong, but if you queue on the other side, hopefully you're never going to have to join that queue. And I think at present day we're looking at about 8 million people in the waiting list just in the UK alone, for some sort of medical intervention.
Exactly. So it's crazy, isn't it? It really is. Right, shall we let's jump on to the next one, shall we?
Yeah.
We've got
another one here.
Lucky dip.
This is really
kind of follows on this one.
It does, yeah. So this is what is essentially causing that queue to increase in length, because ultimately symptom management is only ever going to manage the symptom. It's never really going to address the root cause. And, we've got this young lady here saying, should I change my lifestyle? And ultimately, this doctor wants to tell that patient what to do, But is that doctor really equipped with the knowledge that they need? Can they look at their autoimmune conditions? Can they look at their type 2 diabetes? Can they look at their obesity? And can they really say, well, actually, if you'd done X, Y, Z, you would be on the path to being to being disease-free? And I think that if we actually paid doctors not to see patients, this whole paradigm would shift massively, or not to prescribe, let's say. Yeah, I think that the solution to healthcare is often viewed as additive. We need to add something into the system to ameliorate the problem, but more often than not, the solution is subtractive. It's about taking something away, and for most people, it's a lot. It's stress what is stress? It comes in many, many forms. Insults come in many forms as well. And, we're surrounded by nutritional insults.
Yeah.
Just a vast array of them that it seems almost impossible to escape. And this is what my program does. It essentially inoculates you against all the junk messaging that's out there.
Yeah.
Like, not that I'm knocking them, but, you see all these Just Eat bikers and Uber Eats and everything, they're not just on TV and on social media, they're out there on the streets, when you're in your car, they're everywhere now, so all that influence is
everyone wants convenience,
surrounded by
they?
it, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Everyone wants convenience.
Yeah.
Well, I've gone through my day. We're now 6:30 p.m. completely fasted from 10 p.m. the night before. What's inconvenient about that? I didn't have to make any decisions today. I didn't have to pick up the telephone. I didn't have to count calories. I didn't need to look at chronograph or look at nutrition information or ask myself, what did I deserve today? I just get up in the morning. I just do what I do automatically. I don't even need to think about it. My meal tonight will be quite simply a carnivore-based meal, which will provide me with everything that my body requires and nothing that my body does not acquire. And that can be tweaked to the person. Some people will do better with 2 meals a day. Some people will tolerate some plant material in their diet.
Yeah, there's nuances in every
there
case.
There is. But the fundamentals and the baseline is the same across everybody.
Yeah.
And this is what this is what I teach.
Yeah, and what you said about the convenience, that's why this system works so well, because there's so many people that, you give them the option. You say, look, you could do this, just change your diet and lifestyle a bit. You could have no medication, no pain, no symptoms, or you could take this pill, have side effects, and they'll take the pill still, even when you've given them the options. And it's just the convenience. Just, well, that pill's easy, isn't it? And
it is,
and they stick with it. And it's sad. It's really sad, as you say. It's that messaging that they've had, that they've been brainwashed with, that's formed their opinions, that, as you say, we don't even know. Every single opinion we hold has been formed by stuff we've been told or seen, but we don't pay attention to it. Sometimes it's just waking people up to, well, okay, you've got that opinion. Where's that opinion come from?
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that, because we're all guilty of cognitive bias. But where I try my very best to keep myself in check is that I could probably argue the flip side to everything that I argue better than the opposition, because I've heard all of the arguments that they put forward, and there absolutely is a place for efficacious, safe and effective medications within a system of healthcare that involves, what we preach here, health. And health interventions. And I can argue for that all day. In fact, I have argued for that for 20 years. I've provided patients with access to high cost drugs, some of which have been kind of life changing. I've worked with medications in the psoriasis space, have essentially cleared up the psoriasis within a matter of weeks, which is absolutely amazing. But these interventions are not available to the vast majority of people. And ultimately, what is that skin inflammation a symptom of? It's a symptom of underlying inflammation within the body. So they've had a 10 out of 10 result in the skin, but have they really addressed the underlying pathology? Probably not.
Yeah. That's the thing that we always talk about a lot as well, is that the medical system, as you say, even the drugs that work, they address symptoms, they don't address causes. And that's where diet and lifestyle differs, and our approach differs, is we look at the cause. If you treat the cause, you don't even need to treat the symptoms. You get rid of the cause. Like with autoimmune conditions, they all come from leaky gut and from intestinal permeability. You feel that you heal the gut, don't need to worry about the symptoms of autoimmune, because they're gone.
Hippocrates said that, didn't he?
Yes.
One of the original fathers of, father of medicine, and, medical students as an undergrad will take the Hippocratic Oath. But by the time they've been hammered with 6 years of medical school and they graduate, and, they're probably, tens of thousands of pounds in debt, and they need to then think about their career. They need to think about publishing. They need to, the last thing in their mind is not the last thing, but it's low down on their priority list, doing absolutely the best thing that they can do for that patient. They do it within the context of the system that they have, they've bought into and they find themselves working in. But it's failing patients ultimately.
Yeah, and I think he also is attributed the quote of all disease begins in the gut. I think he said that too, which is exactly what we teach.
We know how important the gut is as well.
Yeah. it's
for maintaining.
Yeah, with physical and mental health, the gut
processes that take place in that and disrupting them, what it can lead to.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely huge. Absolutely. That is. Should we?
We've got another one to touch on, and I really like this one. It's very much.
Is this your?
We spoke about this the other day.
This is a little bit controversial. I'm wondering whether I should apologise for it. But I don't think I'm going to apologise. What I'm just going to try and do here is make a case. Okay, that this is a meme. It's
very ancestral and very historical, genetic, evolutionary. It combines all those elements. I think it's very important that.
Yeah, I think it is. Now there are patterns here. There are patterns here, and to some people they may not appear obvious at first glance. Pardon the pun. But you see in the top here, we've got the wolf, the falcon, the lion, and the human, which have forward-facing eyes. So why would they have evolved this way? Why do they not need the peripheral vision that the hunted
need? Before at the bottom.
The bottom. Yeah. Because they have to have line of sight to their prey. They don't have to worry necessarily about what's coming around the back, because they're top of the food chain. Yeah, how did we as humans prevail the way we prevailed? We certainly didn't do it by having peripheral vision and not being able to hunt. We grew our brains primarily by eating almost exclusively meat for almost all of the history of the human species in our modern form for 250 to 350,000 years, but also if you look at our lineage for millions of years before that, essentially we evolved to become obligate hyper carnivores. So we can consume vegetation, and for some periods of times we did. Those were always fallback foods. Yeah, so the deep nutrition lies within animal products. The large ruminant animals that we've hunted for hundreds of thousands of years, that hasn't changed today. If you look at if you look at what we've eaten within the context of our anthropologic history, the last 8,000 years where agriculture was available only forms a very tiny percentage of that human history. And you look any further back, really, what did we rely on? We hunted in groups. We used spears, to hunt large ruminant animals, and that provided us with the maximum nutrition for our input. So if you think about inputs and outputs, that's where we were at. That's how we grew these brains. And we are apex predators. There is no way of getting getting around it. And I think that the fact that we can somewhat digest some plants that we find on the supermarket shelves, which have been bred that way actually to be as least toxic as possible to the human system. And typically you have to ferment or cook them to detoxify them further and allow any access to that nutrition. And if you ultimately went out into nature and started consuming plants, how far would you get without ending up in hospital or dead? You wouldn't get very far at all. But as far as eating animals is concerned, you would digest them all, nose to tail, perfectly well, unless you come across a poison frog or something else that's bright coloured and it's probably signalling to you, don't eat me.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's the acid level of our stomach as well is another sign for that, because we're on a similar level to a vulture. Meaning that's why we can eat meat raw. You know, most people think raw meat's so dangerous for you. It's only if it's contaminated it's dangerous. We can eat raw meat and our stomachs are fine. We're the same as vultures and other things like that.
Or hyenas. Absolutely.
And it's and you said about how the 8,000 odd years since the agricultural revolution is only a small amount of time. And if you look at how much we've degraded our health since then, it's a huge amount. I think our brain has, shrunk by 30% since the start of the agricultural revolution. The average height of humans has gone down from like 6'3" to 6 foot, I think, worldwide. Our skeleton is a lot weaker, and it's
and our life expectancy as well.
Our life expectancy is probably increased somewhat, but the
overall. Going back,
life expectancy is a bit of a difficult one, isn't it? Because
difficult,
for a long time it was I can't think of the word for it, but it was like water sanitation. Basically,
Yeah,
that was the main that was the main reason.
Infectious diseases.
Yeah, that was the main reason for people dying, was those infectious diseases spreading from poor sanitation. And once we cured that, that's when life expectancy went up. But back before that, when they were living in tribes and stuff, and they didn't have to worry about all that. You know, it was when we started living in cities and crowded things, and everyone's there's, you know, defecating everywhere, and there's all that. That's when it came. But before that, people were living to over 100 comfortably. Humans should live to 120.
I think
by our
that's
by our DNA.
Yeah.
We should live to 120, and they're used to, and you know, now we don't. We actually spoke about this last week on the podcast about someone struggles to 80 years old. The last 20 years, they're an absolute physical mess, and people think they've done well. It's like, you know, it's not. We're destined for a lot more than that as humans. As you say, we were the apex predators of the whole planet. And look at our physical makeup. And look at, you know, the lion, the elephant, these other, you know, and we were the apex predators, and now we've become, you know, this.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, we're almost devolving.
Yeah, definitely. We are. We're going backwards. You know, I think health was so much. You go back 10,000 years, health would have been a lot better than it is now.
Yeah, and look at the things we've overcome. You know, we you know, we're not going to be attacked by other animals. We've got ultimate. The majority of the world has safety and security. You know, your life isn't really cut short the way it was cut short thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
We've overcome so many diseases. The disease that we need to fight now is metabolic syndrome and insulin resistance. Yeah.
That's it.
We're fighting a battle with something that is entirely of our own doing. Instead of coming from the outside, we create it ourselves.
That's true. We're poisoning ourselves. Having overcome all the infectious diseases and obviously, as you say, the dangers, we should now be living longer than we ever have. Yet we're just poisoning ourselves, and you know, we've got the stresses and pollutions and all this stuff, and the food, and it's, you know, we're killing ourselves essentially.
And I look at so many diseases as having sort of the same sort of root cause. So ultimately it's driven by inflammation. It's driven by insulin resistance. So you have this sort of overarching condition called metabolic syndrome, and I think that so many of the diseases that have been given names essentially all stem from that. You address that, then really, if you've drawn a good hand genetically, you will do pretty well in life. You know, you might even be symptom free, and you might even die when you're ready to die.
That's
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah, exactly. You could actually just die from old age rather than, you know, dying, as most people nowadays are dying in pain and you know, before their time. Yeah, absolutely. I think we've got more. Have we got more to move on to? Have we got?
I think that's probably the last slide.
Is that the last one? Is it?
I think that's
fine.
I think that was the final, the ones, the three that made the final cut.
Final cut.
But we'll have more as well. We'll need to get you on again, Akis. That was super insightful and full of knowledge as always. I'm sure everybody found it very beneficial and educational, and we'll need to get those other images on at later episode. We'll have you.
We'll have to do another one and run through them again and talk about it.
Especially in this brilliant setting.
I know it's.
And where, in terms of the hypno fasting method, where can people find you, or is it mostly LinkedIn that you produce the majority of your work at the moment?
My course has been packaged up just now as
Facebook.
As an online course, Right. So if you search Hypno Fasting Method, you'll be able to get a flavour of what I offer there.
Okay.
And once you're in the course, essentially my promise or my offer is I help men over 40 reverse metabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes, and reclaim their health without pills, diets, and doctors. And if you engage in my program, then that is my promise to you.
That's awesome. We did actually, in fact, after the last time, on quite a few of the clips from the podcast, I got people asking, saying, where do I find this guy online? And we didn't really have any links for you. I was like, I need to find out. So
at the moment,
send us any links you have, and
at the moment I'm scaling down 1-to-1 and trying to build a model where it's going to be one to many. So I'm essentially taking what's in my brain and I'm creating an online product. And with that, you'll have access to me in a group setting, and I will take you on this journey with everyone else. And ultimately, the goal is that when our work is done, you are self-sufficient, you're self-autonomous to be able to be the arbiter of your own health, and I will inoculate you against every junk message that comes your way in the future.
That's it.
Love it.
That's the way to be.
Powerful sign off. Love
That is it. Yeah.
We'll certainly put your LinkedIn and your other information in the description when we release this.
Yeah.
That was
Fantastic.
excellent.
Thanks
Yeah.
for inviting me, guys. And
That's all right.
you know, if he's a charm, then I'll come back again.
Absolutely. Yeah, you'll
Thanks
have to
for
be
coming
our
in.
first guest to come back for the third time as well.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant. That's
Dinner on you.
that's yeah.
Dinner on me.
Dinner back to Akis's for some meat.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so that's great. We'll the message everyone can take from this week is that we are absolutely carnivores, and that's how we should eat, as the majority, as you say, and to ignore the messaging that we get, and definitely look up Akis and his Hypno Fasting, because it's a very interesting method, and I know I can already tell that it works. I've not done it myself, but I can tell that it works because I know that the message he's putting in and the things that he's doing, they all work. So definitely question your beliefs and look to learn new things and educate yourself. And we'll see you next week, and let's get optimal together. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning into the show. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover on the podcast, or you'd like to appear on it, then please contact us at hwpoduk@gmail.com, on our website, which is healthwealthuk.com, or on any of our social medias, which are at hwpoduk. Please make sure you like, subscribe, share it with all your friends and family, and we will see you next week.